Hey everyone, and welcome to the Eye Opener Society. On tonight's episode, Hannah and I we're going to sit and we're going to focus on a post that we seen on Facebook. It was actually on a friend's page, and he actually wanted us to talk about it. The post was kind of all over the place, but it really touches you, and you could really get so much out of it. And it has a lot to do with death and our memories once we do leave this earth. But it also shows a lot of inspiration as far as what you would want to accomplish while you are here. We'll definitely get into it a lot more, so stay tuned. Thank you for joining us and get ready for the show. Hey, everyone. Welcome to your favorite, the Eye Opener Society. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. You have me, Gary, and you have my co-host, my lovely stepdaughter, Hannah.
Hey.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm glad everybody could join us. And this is the first of a few episodes. I know we've been going off track and we're going down the serial killers, vampires, and all that. Don't worry, we're still going to have more stuff like that. We're definitely going to get back into some of the conspiracy theories as well. But right now, we wanted to get into a little bit more of our metaphysical, some of our positive mind experiences and stuff like that. Just to round everything out, because I think coming towards the end of this year and coming into this new year, a lot of people have been feeling so much pressure and just not, I don't know. There's been some very overwhelming experiences, I think. Don't you agree?
Yes, I agree.
Excellent. Yeah. I just, so that's why I wanted to try and get some more positive thoughts and some more, I don't know, some ways to just kind of get through life. But I'm doing this for a friend, this buddy of mine, Dave. He had this on his Facebook page. I read it, and as I went through it, I said, oh, this is pretty inspiring because, reading is always powerful, at least to me. It wasn't that long, but I'm going to read it to you. He had it shared. I'm just going to give credit where credit is due. I don't know if this dude actually wrote this or if he got it from somewhere else, but it's from a Prince Lynn. But he's on Facebook. I don't know who he is, but I'm just going to read this, and then we're just going to dive into a few of the things and a few takeaways from it. He says, have you ever thought about this? In 100 years, like in 2123, we will all be buried with our relatives and friends. Strangers will live in our homes we fought so hard to build, and they will own everything we have today. All our possessions will be unknown and unborn, including the car we spent a fortune on and will probably be scrap, or preferably in the hands of an unknown collector. Our descendants will hardly know who we were, nor will they remember us. How many of us know our grandfather's father? After we die, we will be remembered for a few more years than we just are a portrait on someone's bookshelf. And a few years later, our history, photos, and deeds disappear in history's oblivion. We won't even be memories. If we paused one day to analyze these questions, perhaps we would understand how ignorant and weak the dream to achieve it all was. If we could only think about this, surely our approaches, our thoughts would change. We would be different people. Always having more, no time for what's really valuable in this life. I change all this to live and enjoy the walks I've never taken, these hugs I didn't give, these kisses for our children and our loved ones, these jokes we didn't have time for. Those would certainly be the most beautiful moments to remember. After all, they would fill our lives with joy. And some of us waste it day after day with greed, selfishness, and intolerance. Every minute of life is priceless and will never be repeated. So take time to enjoy, be grateful for, and celebrate your existence. What's your takeaway on that, buddy?
That's just it's really deep, first of all.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think it's it kind of summarizes the ignorance that we all are guilty for, in a sense, And it's just like it kind of leaves you speechless. It puts you in like a mind space where you're like, damn.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why when I read it, there's just so many little facets about that. It's just it's not that long of a story, but it really does. It touches on us as human beings and
Hmm.
what we really become. We're fighting so hard for materialistic things,
Yeah.
which really don't mean nothing at all. When you really come down to it, it doesn't, because we take away life's real pleasures, love and enjoyment and joyous occasions, but we just waste it on this greed, selfishness, the materialistic things in
Hmm.
life. And I've been, I always sit and reflect on that myself when I say, why are we human beings? What is our purpose? It's not to just sit there and collect all these great things. Oh, I have the biggest house, I have the best car. None of that matters. Where do we stand in life that makes us matter? Because then the second thing, death. Once we die and we move on into our other worlds or wherever it is you believe, our memories are going to be memories only for a certain period of time before
Hmm.
we're completely forgotten from there.
Yeah, I always said like I never like obviously like I'm not like rich. I don't live in like the hidden what or the hidden hills or whatever the hell they're called in California. But
Beverly Hills.
yeah, whatever. See, I'm not rich, so I don't even know what the name is. But I always said like I would even if I did, like I would never want to be remembered as like by the things that I had or like the house that I had, when I'm gone, I want to be remembered as the emotional giving person that I was, like the devoted friend that I was to people.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. It's like, yeah, we want to be remembered for things that made us human beings.
Hmm.
We don't want to be remembered for the house we had, the car, because none of that's going
Materialistic
to,
shit.
yeah,
None of that matters when you're
it
gone.
doesn't. Because, yeah, once you pass, well, but then that also brings up another point. How many people pass on and then suddenly family members, the first thing they want to know, what am I getting from that
Hmm.
person's passing? Am I getting their car? Am I getting their house? Am I getting their money? That brings up, that's why I said this little passage really brought up so much thought about human beings and what we are and why we're sometimes just greedy, selfish fucks.
Hmm.
That's what, and that's why I say I enjoy reading. I enjoy reading things like this just because sometimes profoundly we open up, a can of worms, and I could talk on so many different topics on this. And that's why I wanted to have this here episode to let people start realizing, we're going to be dead and buried at some point. That's a given. And I don't want to sound morbid. I don't like that, but it's a given, just like taxes. We all at some point, we're going to move on. We're going to be in a whole nother, world, or whatever it is you believe, but we're all going to pass away at some point. What are we going to do when we are alive? That's what we need to start
Yeah.
considering.
And I
What are we
think
doing alive?
with this post, you can read it and you can take it two ways. You can take it as like a negative post, or you can take it as a positive post. And I think what I kind of want to stress is that you should really take this as a positive post. I don't think it's meant to, scare people or it's meant to upset people. I think it's more of an eye opening, positive post, just kind of making you think and open up your eyes to be more positive and have more of a, emotional and mental imprint on the world versus a materialistic one.
It does. And at the very, very last sentence, every minute of life is priceless and will never be repeated. So take time to enjoy, be
Mm-hmm.
grateful for, and celebrate your existence. That's what we fail to do. We fail to celebrate the actual existence of our own life. And by that, it doesn't mean always the material things. While it's okay, listen, if you can afford it, if you can, if you do want and you really strive for that big house, that beautiful car, and all, if that's what you really want out of life, I mean, go for it. If that's what's going to make you happy. But at the same time, your very existence, once it's done, again, that car, that house, none of that's going to matter.
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to be matter after years. Like it says, we just fade away into the, backs of people's memories. And then even that goes away after a while. There's nobody really celebrating you, which I'm going to get into a little bit too on that. But
Yeah.
I do believe we are failing to understand the real important things in life.
Yeah. And the value of oneself.
Yes. The value of the moments that you're just sitting and like right now, I'm sitting here doing what I enjoy. This podcasting, it's a hobby of mine. I enjoy it. I sometimes just, look forward to doing it. Again, I celebrate myself. I celebrate sitting here next to you, Hannah. I enjoy that. There's a feeling. These are the things that matter. These, not the money, not, the great job or the big house. It's the moment right now that we can sit, we can do this together, and we can actually enjoy that. That's a memory that's going to last. And in this case, it actually lasts a long time because it's recorded, and it's something people can remember us for too, just by turning it on and replaying these here old episodes or whatever. That's another way to create an external existence for the future as time goes on, if we wanted to look at it that way as well.
Yeah. And I wanted to touch on the one part towards the end. It says, and some of us wasted day after day with greed, selflessness, and intolerance. So with that, what my thoughts are on that is, no, there's nothing wrong with striving, like you said, for the big house or the fancy car. Like if you want that, like that's great. And no one is saying like you grinded, no one's saying that even if you grinded hard for your money or something that you have to give it away. No one's saying that. I think the importance is that you remain humble. And you remain a nice person. You don't look down on like lower class people just because you have more than they do. I think that is like, that kind of summarizes that line up. Don't waste your days thinking that you're better than other people just because you have more things, because in the end, the things mean nothing if you have a cold heart.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I do recall we once done a podcast, back in the old days, where I was talking about that. I said, I was at an event and there was a lot of people, obviously well to do. And I said, it's so easy this day and age. Everybody hates on the rich. And I always said, why do we do that? I mean, there's some people are born with money. Some people worked hard for it. But either way, what difference does it make? They're still another human being. It's how they treat other human beings that they should be judged by, not just because they happen to have a fat wallet. Some people get lucky like that.
Yeah. I saw a post that like some guy posted like I guess he had like a supercar or something like that. And he had Christmas lights like wrapped on it and they were like drifting in a parking lot. And the first comment had like 10.5K likes or something. And the comment was, you could have spent your money on one of those giving trees. What are they called? Like you pick a note and then you can get kids, like less fortunate kids, gifts or something off of a Christmas tree that like Walmart's have them. And I was just like, are you serious? Like I almost commented back at this person, but I was like, you know what? You're not worth my energy, because you have no idea what that person did behind closed doors. I think we touched base on this a little bit on the Nonsense and Deep Thoughts podcast. We were on like, not everyone has to post the charity work that they do.
Right.
You don't know if that person already did that. You don't know if that person donated X amount of ZY to whatever. If they grinded hard for their money and they want to do things or buy things that, they earned with that hard-earned money, go ahead. You know what I mean? Like, and if they want to post a video about it, they can post a video about it. It doesn't make them a shitty person.
Yeah, exactly. We got to understand what a shitty person really is. And I think we can tell just having money alone doesn't make anybody any less of a person. And like I mentioned in that old podcast, I said, these people are probably the most giving. I mean, because they have so much money, so much of it is given away. Yeah, are they doing it for a tax write-off? But even if they were, it's still money that's being given away to different charities and all. So they are the biggest givers. But again, it takes the person themselves. Once we erase all that materialistic stuff away from anybody, then that's the only time we can actually look at the individual as an individual. And it's not right for anybody to judge them really, for what they do.
Mm-hmm.
It's not our, we could say, yeah, that's a bad person.
Yeah.
But again, it's really not our place to judge them, make fun of them, or just, we waste too much time and energy on that instead of focusing in on ourselves and what are we doing to be good. We're so quick to pass judgment on other people. Then we got to ask ourselves, well, what are we doing to be good?
Yeah.
That's how I look at that. Also, this little post too, because a lot of it has to do with, people's memories fading away after they pass. But it's, I think that's cultural, because some things that are pretty cool, the in some cultures, this is, if I'm pronouncing it right, Toraja people from Indonesia, if I'm pronouncing that right. One of their rituals, they actually dig up the bodies of their dead relatives. They clean them, dress them in new clothes, and then the bodies are left to dry. And the Torajan people then parade them around the roads.
Oh.
All right. Now, you and I, you could sit and say, well, this is horrible, but they literally do this in their culture to celebrate those. So this is really where memory, doesn't matter. Even if you're dead and buried, they will dig you up, parade you around. I mean, it might not look normal, from outsiders, but when we look at it like this is a real, true celebration of their relatives.
Yeah, and their life.
Yeah. So, and don't forget, we also do this in Mexico too. The Day of the Dead, where they actually, dig up the bones of their dead relatives, which are cleaned, and then they're added to the family's altar. And that's just a way of honoring them and having them present during the festivities.
Yeah.
So it all depends on the culture that you're with, to, extend our thoughts on people. We don't always have to fall away into obscurity.
Yeah.
There's ways to remember. We may not go to the extremes like this, where we're actually digging up, bodies and parading them around and cleaning and dressing them, but some cultures do. And to me, that's a beautiful thing. That's one way to be remembered, no matter how you look at it.
Yeah. That brings me back to, just having such a positive, helping people and, just leaving a positive imprint in society so that you are remembered. I hope years down the road when, my great, great, great grandchildren are alive, I hope I'm still brought up, as being the kind person that I was and the helpful person,
Yeah.
And you can do that. It's not hard to do. There's just small things I love the idea of recipe books, just if you come up with something, my brown sugar chicken's going to be on there. I hope
sure.
I hope that's remembered for years upon years, just small things. And the small things can mean so much, because at the end of the day, if that's the only thing that I'm remembered for in 100 years time, at least my imprint is still there.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good word, imprint. I like that imprint that's going to stay throughout other people's lives and remember you for the way you were. Just those small little things, it means a lot. So as you're going throughout your life, your day or whatever, try to remember this. You're important. You exist, so you matter. Do the small things, but do what makes you happy. But don't focus always on the materialistic things. Do it if you want to. If it's making you happy, great, do it. Buy the big stuff, buy the expensive stuff. Just remember what really is going to be remembered about you. So make sure that is what's going to matter in somebody else's life. So with that, I don't know, did you want to add anything there?
Good. I think we covered it all.
Yeah, I really, like I said, this is just something a friend of mine had posted and he wanted me to talk about it. And I definitely did. It definitely, like I said, I could read it over and over again and I could probably find more topics in there to talk about. But really, to me, it's all about the remembrance of those that have passed and just really what are they remembered for and how are they remembered?
And appreciating moments in time now.
Yeah.
Just to bring it up quick, the hugs that you didn't give, the kisses from your children and your loved ones, the jokes that you didn't have time for, make time for them. Hug a loved one, even if it's awkward, and remember that, I always remember like I try to remember every single time like my son gives me like a kiss or like the just smallest, sweetest, blissful moments,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the moments that I appreciate the most with him.
And those are the memories that will always last. And
Yes.
those are the memories that really matter.
You can't ask me something I did last week, I don't remember, but ask
Mm-hmm.
me last week on Wednesday, and I can even remember around the precise time my son like just ran up to me and gave me the biggest kiss and hug. And it was like, yeah, you love you.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I'll remember that. But
Absolutely. Those are important things.
yeah,
Yeah, and that was the big takeaway with
yeah,
this. You're going to remember this, and people are going to forget you though, eventually at some point. So try and make that lasting impression, whether it's on yourself or others. Be a real human being. We definitely will be back.
yeah.
Like I said, we're going to have a lot more coming, and we'll get off topic, on topic, back and forth. But we really appreciate our audience. We appreciate every one of you. Hopefully, this here has a little bit of a takeaway for some people. And we will be back and enjoy your life.
Yeah. See ya.
Hey, everyone, and thank you so much for listening to our latest podcast. We really do appreciate the support. And speaking of support, since you listen to us, why don't you have a listen to some of our great friends on their fantastic podcasts as well? If you have a second, have a listen to the following shows: Nonsense and Deep Thoughts, hosted by Corey and Justin, a variety show. I'm sure everybody will find something there that you can get into. They have spin-offs. They even do a sports show, as well as Tales from the NICU, and hopefully soon they'll have a political show as well. So that's Nonsense and Deep Thoughts. If you're into the Wiccan religion or witchcraft, curious about it, would like to learn more, have a listen to Swales as she hosts her podcast, Bell Witch Podcast, a fantastic show. I enjoy it so much. And if you are into the true crimes, the cold case files, a little bit of mystery, have a listen to my friend Chris Tell on Twisted Tales. He hosts a very good show there. Twisted Tales, a very good podcast, especially for cold case files. You might have some information that could help lead to the capture of some people that committed some really horrible crimes. Then listen to Ouch, Was That a Ghost? Ouch, Was That a Ghost is a fantastic show hosted by Liz. She does a great show. She deals with paranormal, ghost stories, torture, and it's all with some very special humor tuned in with that as well. So definitely have a listen. Ouch, Was That a Ghost? Matt and Monica, they host the Matt and Monica podcast, and that is one of my favorite shows. They are so raw, so real. Their stories can be very touching, very eye-opening, and they all have a very valuable lesson. So definitely have a listen to the Matt and Monica podcast. We hope to hear from you soon. Take care.